Alright, in this video I want to basically talk about the historical materialism and dialectical materialism of Marx and his followers. Marx kind of had the historical materialism going for him, and people following him, like Althusser and others, kind of, thought of it less of a historical thing and more of just calling it dialectical materialism. So, um, um, so basically, the whole idea of a historical materialism is, first off, kind of, it's materialistic because Marx is thinking about how the world and ideas are related together. So we're thinking about ideology and how society really is via things like capitalism and socialism and stuff like that. How history and causal processes within history are the reason why things are the way they are today, and it's materialism because it's not in the. First of all, I want to think about Hegel here, because Hegel had a dialectics thing going on with it, where we have a thesis given. A thesis being just like people saying that things should be a certain way, or things are a certain way. And then we have an antithesis, which is a contradictory statement or a conflicting statement with the thesis. And then we have a synthesis, or a sublation, or a Aufhebung in German, which is basically almost a compromise between the thesis and the antithesis. So we have basically, society and the world is the way it is today because of change and conflict, and that is the change and conflict and contradiction and kind of things changing and even bad things happening is, is fixed towards a certain progress, and that's the way progress can happen. And kind of Hegel, Marx took Hegel's kind of dialectical thought process of how the world is the way it is. Hegel kind of had this universal spirit or mind thing, which is more idealistic, and Hegel had this very abstract and metaphysical philosophy. Marx didn't really care for that. He didn't care for the abstractness or the absolute. He cared about the dialectical thought process of the whole thing that Hegel had, and that's kind of how Marx kind of just thought of society and just the way things are as a result of a long historical process, looking at things historically, and looking at things causally and historically, and thinking of ideology as superstructural within capitalism, and kind of thought of it in that very historical way. Now, to kind of explain what Marx was doing, he kind of had this idea of a bourgeois and a proletarian, where the bourgeois was basically this dominating class which owned all of the means and modes of production, while the proletarian was the one who did the labor, who does the labor and produces the goods and gets paid minimally for it. And in that way, he's alienated from himself, and the bourgeois is in a way exploiting him. And that's kind of how the whole thing of alienation works, because the work that he does and the goods that he produces is a part of who he is, and that once he produces something and the labor that he does, it's owned by somebody else. It's owned by the bourgeois, and because of that, he's alienated from himself in a way. So, historical materialism for Marx, in a way, in that things are the way they are because of ideas in the world and how those things come together, and because of the history of the history that came before, and the whole dialectical process. Now, dialectical materialism was not a word used by Marx, but dialectical materialism was a term that was used more by people following him. Louis Althusser used it. I'm not sure if Lukács used it or not, but there were people that were following him that emphasized the historical causal part of it, and just explained it just immediately in terms of that dialectical stuff, that whole dialectical process, and just thought of society as that. And how does this relate to ideology? Ideology is, now I'm gonna have a video about Marx and Althusser on ideology here soon. The whole thing is that ideology is a reason for how things are, and because people are taught to think a certain way because of certain ideology in place. Marx thought of ideology as peculiar to capitalism, and ideology within capitalism as superstructural, and that is something that should be broken down. How Althusser didn't think of it that way, and how ideology was everywhere, but it was just different kinds of ideology or ideological state apparatuses. So, the whole difference, though, between historical and dialectical materialism is that historical materialism has a lot of emphasis on the history, or the historicism of the whole reason the way it is today. So, or the whole history and causal processes of the past, which through those whole dialectic processes and how thesis, antithesis, and synthesis happen, that's how things are today. And while dialectical materialism simply emphasize that one process and how things are, the way they are, and not talking, and also both of them are similar in that they aren't talking about anything that's abstract or idealistic or theoretical or philosophical. We're talking about how men are and how the world is today, and how it can progress towards a certain end, and how things can change and conflict through these dialectical processes. So that's kind of yeah. I think I got everything though. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. If you think I've messed something up or left something out, please comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Or if you have a question or anything, also comment below, because whenever you comment, I get an email, and if your comment is constructive, then I will always reply. So, thank you.